Welcome to Growth Notes, where the journey towards growth gets a daily blueprint. I'm Landon Stone, entrepreneur, certified high-performance coach, and your guide on this journey. Each day, for just 10 to 15 minutes, we dive into the core of what makes success attainable. It's all based on a simple yet powerful formula. Learning multiplied by focus equals growth. This isn't just a theory, it's actually a practical approach to living your best life every single day. Together, we'll explore real strategies, share actionable insights, and learn from the highs and lows of the growth journey. Whether you're an aspiring entrepreneur, a seasoned professional, or just someone passionate about personal development, there's going to be something here for you. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button, join our community, and let's transform our today into a better tomorrow. Welcome to Growth Notes. I just want to thank you for joining me. This is the very first episode of Growth Notes, and this has been something that I have thought about for a while, and I've never done a podcast. I've been a guest on a few, but definitely just talking into this screen, talking into this microphone is something foreign for me. So I thank you for giving me a shot. I thank you for listening to this. I hope that you walk away with just a little bit of value today, and maybe you'll want to hear what we have to say tomorrow. So before we get started, I want to introduce myself and talk a little bit about my journey towards growth and some of the notes that I've taken along the journey. My name's Landon Stone. I'm about to turn 30 years old. It's the end of 2023 right now. And I feel like I've learned a lot. And I know that I have so much more to learn. And a big purpose of this podcast is to help document some of the lessons that I've learned through my own experiences and through others on their journey to growth and fulfillment. And some of the lessons that'll be talked about are the definition of what growth is, what success is, what fulfillment is, because it's different to everybody. And I personally have seen a very large evolution in what all of those words mean. Growing up, I grew up in a small town of West Texas. I didn't necessarily know what I wanted to do in life. I argued so well with my teachers that one day in the 5th grade, Miss Phillips, she told me I'd make an excellent attorney. And that notion kind of carried me through all the way through high school. I loved to argue. I loved to be right. I loved a good debate. And I also loved to write, and I loved math. But I never knew really what I wanted to do. So attorney was what I went to school to be. So many people had told me I would be good at it, and I thought I loved arguing. So I went to Texas Tech University and graduated college in 2015 with a degree in sociology and legal studies. And while I went to college, I worked for a men's retail clothing store. We sold suits. In my head, I was like, I'm going to be an attorney. I'm going to need suits one day, so I might as well get a job where I can learn about suits and I can get a discount. Up until this point, I really wasn't a people person. Before I moved to Lubbock, Texas, I worked in furniture sales for my now wife's family. And in that point, I learned that I'm kind of good with people. But I learned that I was pretty good with sales while working at this clothing store. And another thing that I learned while working at this store was I met a lot of professionals, particularly attorneys. And I made a decision that I didn't want to be an attorney anymore. I looked up and, nothing against all of the attorneys in the world, but I made some observations. And one of them that attorneys were usually worked a lot harder, like they were worked a lot harder, and they weren't particularly happy, at least the attorneys that shopped with me. On the other hand, I worked with a lot of mortgage brokers and real estate agents and entrepreneurs, and they were the best clients. Not only did they spend more money with me most of the time, but when things didn't necessarily go to plan, when the special order didn't come in on time or the alterations weren't quite perfect, they seem to have this rain jacket. If you can visualize just the problems sliding right off as opposed to soaking them in. And this was something that I noticed. And so I took a step back in my career and I said, you know what? I want to spend time with my family throughout my life. And to me, the profession of going to law school, having to work my way up through the ranks, and some of the other conversations that we were having around these things, like that wasn't actually the lifestyle that I wanted. And so as I graduated college, I made a decision to pack up and I moved to North Carolina from Texas with no real career path on deck. I had been promoted through the ranks to full-time salesperson to assistant manager. And when I got to North Carolina, I earned the role of store manager. And I made pretty good money. And, one day I looked up and I remembered those real estate professionals and how their lives were happy. And they seemed to have a little bit more control over how they respond to situations, but also their schedule. And so I was like, the grass must be greener over there. At the same time, I worked nights, I worked weekends, I worked holidays, and I know a lot of people do and they have families as well. But when I looked at my life's design that I wanted to have for myself, I told myself, there's got to be more. I want to be in control of my life. And there's someone on my team now that I love what she says. I want to work to live, not live to work. And while I was selling suits and managing a store and everything, I definitely lived to work. I was in the mornings. I usually didn't get home until 9. We didn't have kids at that time, but I knew at some point I want to be able to tuck my daughters or my sons into bed while they're still awake. And so real estate came back into my world. And long story short, I bought my first house in 2016. I bought my first investment property for my birthday in 2017. I flipped my first house in 2017, and then I quit my full-time job and went into real estate brokerage full-time. I had a pretty good 2018. That was my first full year in real estate. But at the end of that year, I took a look in the mirror and I said, I'm working more than I think I would have worked as an attorney. I have absolutely no work-life balance. I'm making great money, but I was making great money at my last job. What I wanted was freedom. And so as I looked and I'm great at setting goals. I'm great at executing a plan, but sometimes I get lost in that goal setting and that execution to where I don't actually know where I am at on the map, and I don't know where I'm going. And so a lesson that I want you to take from this Growth Notes podcast, this episode, the first episode, is create a map. Before you can grow, you have to know where it is that you're growing. And a map has 2 very important points. You need to know where you're going. Ask yourself, why is it that I'm doing what I'm doing? If you set a goal to make $100,000, ask yourself, why do I want to make $100,000? Then ask yourself why again, and try and go 5 levels deep. It could look like this. I want to make $100,000 next year. Well, why? Well, so that I can live the life that I want. Well, what does that look like? Well, I want to pay off debt. I want to be able to take my wife on vacation. I want to own my own home. Why are those things important? I want to pay off my debt because it's important that I'm not a slave to debt. I want to take my wife on vacations because that quality time and those experiences are what it's all about. I want quality time and I want to create experiences for my wife. I want to feel like I am making an impact on the people around me. And then you may ask yourself, well, why is that important? And if you can go 5 levels deep, you can really find a good impact on where it is that you want to grow. And you can also create enough internal motivation to get there. If I need to make $100,000, unless I know why that $100,000 is important, it would be really hard to get up out of bed every day when things are hard to do it. But for me, at the end of the day, I want to be able to live a life of freedom so that I can be present and engaged with my family and the people that I love. For me, presence is the most important. And it may be different for you, and that's okay. But identify where it is that you're growing. The second piece of a growth map is you need to know, where are you? And you need to be really real with yourself. Where am I in relation to my goals? If you wanted to drive to Los Angeles, I think it would be important that you knew whether or not you were starting in New York or in Seattle. And so growth can be the same way. You got to learn, where are you going? You need to learn, where are you? And you need to learn, what are the things that I need to do to get there? Am I heading south? Am I heading west? What are the actions that I need to focus on? And then you need to do them. Because a plan is only a plan, and it doesn't actually get us anywhere. It'd be like drawing a map, but not getting in the car and hitting the gas. And so ask yourself, where are you growing? Where are you going? Where are you? And what are some easy, actionable steps that you can start today to start heading in that direction? And if those steps seem overwhelming, break it down a little bit more. Maybe instead of going all the way out there, set a shorter term goal. Make sure that you have enough motivation into it so that every day, no matter how hard it seems, you can wake up and you can have the motivation to push forward. You have to create motivation. You have to create energy. And those are some things that I've learned since getting into the career that I'm in is if I don't know where I'm going, I will go everywhere. And at the end of the day, everywhere is nowhere. I also recognize now that motivation isn't something that comes to me. It's something that I pursue. And the other thing is, one of the most profound pieces of advice that I have received is success is guaranteed when priorities are accomplished in the right order. So identifying in what order do my priorities need to occur and accomplishing them then in that order can be a massive catalyst for your growth. So know where you're at and where you're going. Understand that you have to manufacture your motivation and your energy. If you wait on a day that you wake up and you're like, today's the day I feel like doing it, you will miss so much opportunity. So develop a routine to pursue motivation, not wait for it to find you. And then keep in mind that what you focus on and what you accomplish is important. And if you can accomplish your priorities in the right order, you're guaranteed success. So I'd love to know, what did you learn from this? Is this something that you could apply to your life? Do you resonate with the learn, focus, grow model? I'd love to know your feedback. And I want to thank you for joining me today on Growth Notes. I hope you found some inspiration and some actionable insights to fuel your journey. Remember, every day is an opportunity to learn something new. Focus on what truly matters and grow into the person you aspire to be. If you enjoyed today's episode, please subscribe, share it with friends, leave me a review. Stay tuned for more daily growth notes, and let's continue to build a community of learners and achievers. Until next time, keep pushing boundaries and seeking growth in all aspects of life. This is Landon Stone, signing off from Growth Notes.